Welcome to Litbit channel. Today we will see Understanding India 5th unit, Interpreting Indies in Traditional, Modern and Contemporary. In introduction part, the term Indies historically refers to the geographical regions of the Caribbean, South Asia and Southeast Asia. It has evolved over time to denote various forms of cultural, social and political practice in these regions. The interpretations of the Indies can be categorized into three main phases: traditional, modern, and contemporary. Each phase reflects a different historical context, values, and social structure. Let's we see traditional Indies. In traditional Indies, before colonialism, the traditional Indies encompassed the indigenous culture of regions like the Caribbean, South Asia, and Southeast Asia. These areas were home to distinct societies and Tainus in the Caribbean and the Mughal Emperor in India. These societies were characterized by the unique art, music, dance, and religious practice like Hinduism and animism. The economics were primarily agricultural, relying on trade, craft, and natural resources, with activities like the species trade in Southeast Asia playing a key role. Next one is modern Indies. The modern Indies refers to the era of European colonization from the 16th to the 19th century. During this time, European powers like Spain, Britain, and Netherlands imposed their dominance, shaping the social, economic, and political structure. Colonization led to the blending of European, African, and indigenous cultures, creating new language and traditions such as carol in the Caribbean. The introductions of the plantations, economics, and forced labor, including indentured servitude, drastically alerted local societies. Residents' movement for independence were prominent during this period, especially in the Caribbean and India. Let's we see contemporary Indies. In the post-independence era, the contemporary Indies refer to the nations of the Caribbean, South Asia and Southeast Asia grappling with their new identities after colonial rule. Countries like India, Jamaica and Indonesia worked to define themselves amidst the legal eyes of colonialism. Globalization brought both opportunities and challenges, including rapid urbanization and cultural exchange. Traditional cultures such as rags music in the Caribbean and the Hindus practice in India saw the revivals. These regions now faces environmental and social issues, including climate changes and economic inequality, while political and social movements continue to fight for decolonization, human rights, and social justice. Let's we see the question answer in this chapter. What are the geographical regions referred to as the Indies? The Indies historically refer to the Caribbean, South Asia, and Southeast Asia. Next one, what societies make up the traditional cultural identity of the Caribbean before colonialism? Indigenous societies like the Arawaks, Cabis, and Tanos shaped the traditional identity of the Caribbean. Which emperors were prominent in South and Southeast Asia before European colonization? The Mughal Emperor in India and the Khmer Emperor in Southeast Asia were notable pre-colonial emperors. Next one, what were some key features of traditional cultural practice in the Indies? The traditional practice include indigenous storytelling, music, dance, community governance, and religious beliefs like Hinduism and animism. Next one, how did the economic system in the traditional Indies function? The economy was based on cultural, agriculture, trade, and local crafts, with activities like the spice trade in Southeast Asia. Then, what is initiated the modern Indies phrase? The modern Indies begins with European colonization in the 16th century, alerting social, political, and economic landscapes. Next one, what cultural effects did colonialism have on Indies? Colonialism lead to the blending of European, African, and indigenous cultures, resulting in new language, customs, and art form like carol. Next one, how did the plantations economic effort affect the Indies during colonization? The establishment of plantations economically relied on forced labor such as slavery in the Caribbean and endangered servitude in South Asia. What significant political movement arose in the Indies during the colonial period? Residents' movements, both armed and intellectual, emerged in the struggles for independence from colonial power. Next one. What marked the post colonial phase in the Indies? Post independence nations in the Indies sought to define their identities amidst the legacy of colonialism, especially in India, Jamaica, and Indonesia. Next one, what role does globalization play in the contemporary Indies? Globalization has brought economic, cultural, and technological exchange, offering both opportunities and challenges for the Indies. How did traditional culture experience a resurgence in the contemporary Indies? Traditional culture were revived with music like reggae in the Caribbean and a renewed emphasis on Hindus practice in India. Next one, what political movements are prominent in the contemporary Indies? Movements forcing on decolonization, social justice, and human rights for central, such as Blank Lives Matter in the Caribbean and Datal rights in India. How did colonial powers impact the economic structures of the Indies? Colonial powers established plantation economics and explorations, local labor, transforming the economic system with long lasting consequences. What was the significance of the species trade? Spice trade in the traditional Indies. The spice trade was a crucial economic activity, particularly in Southeast Asia, shaping local economics before colonial influence. Next one, what are the nature of political struggles during the modern Indies era? Resistance against colonial rule lead to armed revolt and intellectual movements, making the fight for independence in the 19th and 20th century. What challenges do contemporary society in the Indies face regarding economic inequality? Economic disparities are pursued with the unequal access to resources and opportunities, especially in post-colonial nations. How does political instability affect the contemporary Indies? Political instability in countries like India and Indonesia affects governance, social welfare, and economic growth, lead to societal unrest. Next one, how did the introductions of European language affect the cultural and the Indies? European language blend with indigenous language, creating new language like Creole in the Caribbean and mixing them with local dialects in South Asia. Next one, what role did forced labor play in the modern Indies? Forced labor, such as slavery and indentured servitude, was central to colonial economics, shaping the social and economic structures of the region. What is the significance of the cultural resistance in the contemporary Indies? The cultural Renaissance has reassert local traditions and value, helping to rebuild national identities and promote cultural pride in the post-colonial period. Next one, how did environmental issues challenge the contemporary Indies? Climate change, particularly raising sea level, threaten Caribbean island nations and other regions face environmental degradations and scarcity. Thank you viewers. Thanks for watching this video.